Mi cielo, come a little closer. Let me sit with you for a moment before we begin. I know the day has been long. Days are always longer than they feel, aren't they? Some of them stretch quietly like warm dough under gentle hands, and others pull tight across your shoulders before you even notice. But you're here now, with me, and that's enough. Tonight, I want to take you somewhere soft, somewhere where even the air seems to breathe for you, a place that has carried light longer than these old bones of mine. And cariño, that's saying something. Before I tell you where we're going, just take one breath with me. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Sí, así. And if you stay with me a little longer, I'll show you a small secret waiting at the edge of the sea. Long ago, I must have been 8 or 9, mi papá took me to visit an old lighthouse near Veracruz. It wasn't tall or grand. Its paint was peeling like the pages of a forgotten book, and the windows had tiny salt scars that made the ocean outside look like a dream dissolving. To me, though, it was magic. I remember how my father held my hand as we climbed the narrow stairs, our steps echoing through the tower. Every echo felt like a promise, and when we reached the top, the world opened. The sea stretched so wide it seemed to be listening, waiting for me to speak first. Tonight, I want you to feel something like that. Not the old tower from my childhood. No, this one is older, quieter, and somehow I believe it has been waiting just for you. But before we travel there, sweetheart, let me help you loosen the weight the day left on your shoulders. Sit however you are, wherever you are, in your bed, on your sofa, curled like a little cinnamon roll under your blankets, and let your body soften. Feel the surface beneath you, steady and patient. Feel your weight resting upon it like a blessing. Let the muscles behind your eyes melt. Let your jaw unclench even a little. If you want, you can close your eyes now. I'll guide you. Breathe in. Hold for a heartbeat, and let it go slowly. Imagine the exhale carrying the heaviness away, drifting like dust lifting from an old windowsill. Good, muy bien. And maybe, just maybe, you can already hear it, the faraway hush of waves we'll soon visit together. Picture yourself now behind the wheel of a small car, driving along a quiet coastal road. The sun is barely waking, that tender moment when the world is still stretching its arms. The sky is pale gold, brushed lightly like warm butter. The road curves gently beside the sea. Your window is a little open. The wind carries the clean smell of salt and distance, of stories that drift thousands of miles before reaching you. You drive without hurry. For once, there is no schedule. No messages waiting, no noise demanding your attention, only the road, the sea, and this morning that feels like it was made just for you. And then you see it, the lighthouse, your lighthouse tonight. It rises at the edge of a rocky cliff, worn by decades of wind, softened by salt, warmed by light. The white paint has faded into a gentle cream, like the color of old postcards tucked inside drawers that nobody ever empties. Something about the way it stands, not proud, not imposing, but steady, makes something in your chest relax without asking permission. You don't know why, not yet, but you will. You pull the car onto a small patch of gravel. The engine quiets, the silence grows warm. When you open the door, the air greets you softly, a cool brush of morning wind, a little salty kiss on your cheeks. You hear gulls above, circling lazily. Below, the waves strike the rocks with a rhythm older than memory. You walk toward the wooden door of the lighthouse. There's a small tin box beside it. Inside is a key waiting patiently, as though someone placed it there knowing the exact moment you would arrive. You unlock the door. It opens with a soft sigh, like a friend letting you in. Inside, the room is simple in the sweetest way. A round window facing the sea, a wooden table, a single chair that looks as though it has listened to many quiet thoughts, a little stove with a kettle resting on top. The walls are thick, holding the cool air gently the way elders hold sleeping babies, secure, protective. And even here, indoors, the sea hums soft as breath. For a moment, you just stand there, letting the stillness wrap itself around you. If you want, mi cielo, you can rest your hand on your heart. Notice the warmth there. Notice how it matches the quiet pulse of this place, as if the lighthouse knows you're here. You walk to the small shelf beside the stove. There's a tin of tea, simple black leaves, edges slightly warm. You fill the kettle, set it over the flame, and listen to the gentle clicking as it warms. The sound is steady and familiar, like a lullaby made of metal and steam. While it heats, you move toward the round window. The sea stretches endlessly in front of you, a long silver sheet shifting under the early light. Far in the distance, a fishing boat moves slowly, almost as if time had paused just to accompany you this morning. The kettle gives a polite whistle. You pour a cup. The aroma rises, strong, plain, sincere. It suits the lighthouse, and perhaps it suits you too. With the warm cup in your hands, you step outside. The wind greets you again, playful this time. Your coat rustles softly. The dew-heavy grass bends beneath your steps like small creatures stirring from sleep. You follow the narrow path around the lighthouse. The rocks below glisten under the morning sun. The waves break again and again, never rushed, never late, always arriving exactly when they should. You stop at a bend in the cliff. The horizon glows with soft gold. The air smells fresh, sharp, radiant, a scent that lifts the dust from the corners of your mind. You take a deep breath, a full one, the kind you might not realize you've been missing. And in that breath, something in you shifts, gently, quietly, without effort. You don't know it yet, but this is only the beginning. The lighthouse has more to show you, more warmth, more stories, more of the kind of peace that waits patiently for the right moment to arrive. Whenever you're ready, mi cielo, we'll continue. You make your way back inside the lighthouse, closing the wooden door gently behind you. The room feels different now, not because anything has changed, but because you have changed just enough to notice the quiet with new ears. It's funny how silence softens when we stop trying to hold ourselves upright. It becomes less of an emptiness and more of a hand resting on your shoulder. The small table in the room seems to be waiting for you, so you sit, setting your cup of tea down beside a simple blank journal left there by some previous visitor. The first page smiles up at you, empty, warm, patient, and something in your chest stirs at the sight of it. I've always believed, mi vida, that blank pages show us who we are. They don't ask for perfection. They don't judge the trembling of our thoughts. They simply hold. Back when I used to write letters to my sisters in Mexico, the letters I sent and the ones I never did, there was always a moment just before the first stroke of the pen when the world felt a little kinder. I think you feel that now too. You pick up the pen, turning it between your fingers. Maybe you write a word. Maybe you write nothing. Both are good. Both are allowed. And as you sit there, breathing softly in that small round room, something begins to unfold in the corner of your mind, a little like a tide rolling forward. You place the pen down and look toward the narrow staircase curling along the wall. The steps are worn smooth, not by age alone, but by footsteps, by years of people carrying their hopes and worries up and down, until the stone itself learned their rhythm. You rise slowly, your hand brushing the cool wall, and take the first step upward. Each turn reveals a small window framing a slice of sky. A pale blue here, a soft cloud there, a shimmer of sunlight dancing on distant waves. The higher you climb, the thinner the air feels, touched by the sea and the memory of countless storms that once rattled these walls. You reach the top of the lighthouse, and there, waiting in a quiet circle of glass, stands the great lens, the heart of the tower. A heavy, majestic thing built not for beauty but for endurance, and yet somehow it carries its own kind of elegance. Imagine all the hands that touch this metal before you, the men who trimmed the wicks, polished the lenses, checked the gears, made sure the light never faltered. They didn't do it for applause. They did it because the sea asked for it, because ships needed that gentle sweep of light to find their way home. And oh, mi cielo, how many times in life do we become lighthouses for others without even realizing? You walk slowly around the great lens, feeling the faint coolness of the metal. Even in sleep, for the lamp is off in daylight, it holds a quiet power, a promise, a memory. There's a small railing along the edge of the lamp room, worn smooth where countless palms once rested. You place your hand there, and the view opens itself to you. The coastline curving like a long arm reaching toward the horizon. The sea below shimmers under the rising sun, a wide silver breath rising and falling in perfect rhythm. You stay there for a moment, just breathing with the waves. In and out. In and out. The lighthouse seems to breathe with you. Then something catches your eye, a tiny door behind the great lens. You might have missed it if the light hadn't shifted just right. A storage alcove, perhaps, or a forgotten nook from old times. Curiosity nudges your shoulder, gentle but steady, like the hand of an old friend encouraging you towards something waiting to be remembered. You open the door. The air inside is still, cool, carrying the faint scent of metal and dust. On a wooden shelf sits a small chest, plain, square, no bigger than a loaf of bread. Its brass latch is green with age, like seaweed that has slept too long under the tide. You kneel and lift the chest. It creaks softly, as if waking from a long dream. Inside, wrapped in an old cloth, are a few objects. A rusted compass, a little bottle half filled with sand, and a bundle of letters tied neatly with string. The paper is yellowed, edges softened by time. You lift the letters carefully, the way one might hold something fragile and beloved. You sit on the top stair of the lighthouse and read the first letter. The handwriting is small, deliberate, perhaps written by hands accustomed to the slow patience of tending a light. The nights are long here, it begins, but the light holds steady. You pause, letting those words settle into your bones. There's a tenderness in them, not sadness, not loneliness, but the kind of acceptance that only grows in places where time moves differently. The letter speaks of waves striking rocks, of storms louder than memory, of a photograph kept beside the lamp so that when the glass turned just right, it reflected her face, Anna, as though she were there, keeping company through the night. You read on. The words move with a steady heartbeat. He writes of quiet that forces a man to meet his own thoughts, of peace that comes not from what stays, but from learning to let go of what must leave, of changes in the world, radios, electric lamps, airplanes, things that made the old ways feel small, yet somehow more precious. And always, always, he writes to Anna as though she were the lighthouse itself, constant, patient, returning like the tide. You close the letter and hold it against your chest for a moment. Somewhere deep inside, the lighthouse hums softly, as if remembering every hand that ever opened that chest. You tuck the letters back gently, as though returning them to sleep. The chest goes back into the alcove. You close the small door. The latch clicks with a tiny, final sigh, the kind old places make when they keep their secrets a little longer. You begin to descend the stairs. Your hand glides along the stone wall, feeling its coolness, its age, its steady presence. Each step feels slower than the one before, not out of tiredness, but because something in you has begun to settle. When you reach the bottom, the room greets you with its familiar stillness. You place a few pieces of wood into the small stove and strike a match. The flame catches quietly, then grows with slow, golden confidence. The light flickers across the walls, touching every corner with a glow that feels almost alive. You sit beside the stove, letting your body warm, letting your thoughts soften, letting the quiet do its work. Outside, the sea deepens to a darker blue. The waves break a little harder against the rocks, not angry, just certain. The day is moving forward, but in here, time feels like warm honey drifting down a glass. And the lighthouse? The lighthouse feels as though it has something more to share with you yet. You settle by the small stove for a long moment, watching the flames curl and uncurl like gentle fingers reaching toward the air. There's something about fire, isn't there? Even the smallest spark carries a whole world inside it. Warmth, memory, a kind of ancient comfort that sits quietly beside you without asking for anything. My mama used to say that fire is like a prayer you can see, and maybe that's why it feels so soothing on nights or mornings when the heart needs soft company. You pull the little blanket from the back of the chair and wrap it around your shoulders. The smell of it is faint, a mix of sun-worn fabric and sea air, the kind of scent that settles into your skin the way old stories settle into your bones. It makes you think of evenings spent on porches, of slow rocking chairs, of someone humming a tune with no name at all. As the warmth spreads through you, you glance toward the round window. Outside, the sky has shifted again, painted now with gentle strokes of rose and gold. The sea moves like a living breath, steady, unhurried. There's something comforting in its repetition, something honest. You stand, stretching lightly, each movement releasing another small knot of tension. The lighthouse feels different now, more familiar, almost as though it recognizes the way you breathe within its walls. You step toward the table where your tea rests. The steam has faded, but the cup is still warm enough to remind you that comfort doesn't always need to be hot, just present. For a moment, you let your gaze wander across the little room. The lamp, unlit, the wooden chair, the shelf of books leaning gently toward one another. Everything seems to have its own quiet heartbeat. Everything seems to be waiting, but not impatiently, waiting the way old friends do, certain that your next step will be taken when you're ready. You move slowly toward the window again, placing your fingertips on the sill. The air carries the faint call of gulls, circling somewhere beyond sight. Below the lighthouse, the rocks glisten as waves slide over them, each stroke smooth and certain, as if the sea is painting the same picture again and again until the world finally understands it. There is a kind of peace that comes from watching something so old, so constant, a peace that doesn't ask questions or demand that you be more than what you are in this moment. Perhaps that is why lighthouses exist, not just to guide ships, but to remind our hearts that some things don't disappear when life becomes tangled. You take a step back from the window, turning toward the narrow stairs again. Something in you is drawn upward, not by urgency, but by that quiet curiosity the lighthouse planted gently in your chest earlier. You climb slowly, your hand brushing the wall as though greeting an old companion. The stones feel almost warm now, warmed by light or perhaps by your own presence. When you reach the top, the sunlight has shifted, sliding across the great lens in soft ribbons. The metal glows faintly, like an instrument waiting for someone to touch its strings. The room carries a thin hush, not silence, but a listening. You step closer and rest your palm lightly on the cold metal. It feels steady, eternal, untouched by storms, and yet shaped entirely by them. And for a fleeting moment, you wonder how many storms a heart can endure before it becomes something like this, strong but softened, weathered but luminous in its own quiet way. You walk around the lens slowly, your feet almost silent on the floor. There's so much time held inside this room, years layered upon years, footsteps layered upon footsteps, breaths layered upon breaths. You can almost feel the echoes of every keeper who has ever stood exactly where you stand now. Their presence lingers lightly, not haunting, but companioning, as though they are whispering, "You are not alone." Your eyes drift again toward the small balcony door. Earlier, you noticed the way the light reached the horizon from there. Now, with the day deepening and the air cooling, something draws you outward, as if the sky itself is inviting you. You step through the narrow doorway and onto the balcony, and the world opens once again. The sea below is darker now, shifting from silver to the deep blue of a thought you haven't spoken out loud. The coastline curves gently, carved by time and tide. The wind brushes your face, cool and familiar, like a friend pressing their forehead lightly to yours. You lean on the railing, letting its solidness ground you. The lighthouse beam is still resting, waiting for nightfall. But standing there, you feel something else, the sense that the world is wide, yes, but also intimate, as though every wave, every breath of wind, every shifting cloud is a tiny letter written just for you. You close your eyes. When you open them again, the light has changed. Not much, just enough to tell you the day is moving forward, that time continues even in the quietest places. Yet nothing feels rushed, nothing feels lost. The lighthouse seems to hold the hours gently, letting them go only when they become too heavy. You step back inside, leaving the sky behind you, but taking its softness with you. The narrow stairs guide you downward, each step slower than the last, as if the lighthouse wants you to savor this descent. Your heartbeat falls into rhythm with the hush of the waves. At the bottom, the stove glows softly, warm and welcoming. You sit again, folding yourself into the chair as though returning to a conversation the room was patiently waiting to continue. The fire crackles lightly, whispering in its own language. And as you rest there, wrapped in warmth and quiet, you sense that the lighthouse is not finished with its story yet. There is something more waiting, something gentle, something meant for you. The fire continues its soft conversation as you sit there, warming your hands near its glow. Each little crackle rises like a memory, brief, warm, then gone. You breathe slowly, letting the warmth travel up your arms, across your chest, settling gently into your shoulders. And as your body softens, so does your mind. Thoughts shuffle like small birds settling their wings for the evening. You look around the room again, noticing details you didn't see before. A faint dent on the edge of the wooden table, the uneven brushstrokes on the wall where someone long ago tried to brighten the room, a tiny thread hanging from the blanket draped over the chair. It all feels lived in, loved quietly, shaped by hands you'll never meet. There's a special kind of tenderness in things that have lasted this long, not because they were protected from the weather, but because they withstood it. The kettle on the stove has cooled, but you pour yourself a little more tea anyway. The taste is milder now, softer, the way conversations become at the end of a long day. You sip, feeling the gentle warmth glide down your throat. Outside, the wind hums as it brushes past the lighthouse, as if offering a low lullaby meant only for you. You pull the blanket around your shoulders again and walk to the window. The sky is deepening into shades of amber and lavender. It's that moment between day and night when light doesn't know whether to stay or gently retreat, and so it lingers, stretching time. The sea shifts with it, turning a deeper, richer hue, like ink swirling in a slow-moving dream. The waves hit the rocks below with a little more weight now, though never harsh. They feel purposeful, steady, carrying the confidence of knowing exactly where they are meant to go. Watching them, you feel something like that rise inside you too, a quiet clarity you didn't know you were seeking. You move toward the door and step outside again. The air is cooler now, touched by the promise of evening. A soft breeze lifts your hair, brushing it lightly across your cheek. The world smells different, more salt, more earth, more night approaching. You stand there a moment, feeling the wind press gently against you, as if trying to remind you of something you once knew well. You take a slow walk around the lighthouse, the gravel crunching under your feet. The sun is leaning closer to the horizon, dipping slowly, like someone bowing respectfully before leaving the room. Each minute folds into the next with such gentle care that you almost don't notice time passing. As you reach the far side of the lighthouse, you stop and look out over the water. The golden ribbon of sunlight stretches itself across the waves, breaking into shimmering pieces wherever the surface ripples. It looks like a path, fragile, luminous, impossibly inviting. And although you know you cannot walk it, something in your chest leans toward it anyway, drawn to its softness. You take a deep breath, letting the cool air fill your lungs. And in that breath, you feel something loosen again. Another small knot, another small worry, another bit of heaviness that no longer needs to stay. It's funny how letting go can feel like coming home. You turn slowly back toward the lighthouse. Its silhouette stands tall against the glowing sky, steady as scripture, as memory, as the kind of love that doesn't need to announce itself to be real. You run your fingers along its rough stone as you walk, tracing the years carved into its skin. It feels warm in some places, cool in others, like a living thing. You return inside, closing the door behind you with a soft click. The room is dimmer now. The fire casts a slow dance of shadows across the walls, the kind that quiets the mind without asking it to sleep just yet. You sit again, sinking gently into the chair as though returning to an old embrace. The journal still lies open on the table where you left it. The page is blank, waiting. You pick up the pen once more. This time, the words flow more easily, not because they are perfect or important, but because the lighthouse has softened your edges just enough. You write a line about the waves, a thought about the letters in the chest, a feeling about the light at the top of the tower. You write without expectation, without judgment, just honesty, small truths folded quietly onto the page. When you pause, the quiet around you feels fuller, almost warm. You look at your own handwriting, noticing how it seems steadier than usual. There is space between the sentences, space you didn't force, space that simply appeared because your breath has become slower, deeper, more forgiving. You close the journal gently, sliding it to the side. The fire crackles softly again, urging you deeper into calm. And then, almost imperceptibly, the room shifts. Not physically, but emotionally, as if the lighthouse is preparing for something. As if it is waiting for night to fall completely so it can reveal one more part of itself. Mi cielo, the evening here is just beginning. When you're ready, we can go on. You sit quietly while the last colors of the day slip gently off the sky like a shawl slipping from someone's shoulders. The room is warm now, wrapped in the soft glow of the fire, and something about this light makes your thoughts slow down in the sweetest way. Nothing presses, nothing pulls. The world feels paused, as if it's giving you permission to simply be. The kettle clicks softly as the metal cools, and the sound blends with the steady breath of the waves outside. You stand, still wrapped in the blanket, and walk toward the window. There's a tenderness to the evening that wasn't there before, a softness you can feel against your skin. The horizon is fading into a deep blue, almost violet, and the first stars appear like shy guests arriving early to a quiet gathering. For a moment, you find yourself smiling without realizing it. Sometimes peace sneaks up on us like that, quietly, sweetly, without asking for permission. You open the window just a little, letting the evening breeze slip inside. It carries with it that ocean scent you're beginning to recognize as its own kind of comfort, salty, cool, tinged with something ancient and familiar. The wind brushes your face gently, almost like a grandmother smoothing your hair, and you close your eyes for a long breath. Then you feel it, that subtle pull, like a whisper calling softly from the top of the tower. Not urgent, not loud, just present. The way some truths call to us only when our hearts have quieted enough to listen. You take the blanket from your shoulders, fold it neatly on the chair, and move toward the stairs. The shadows curl along the steps, stretching thin and long. As you climb, the evening deepens, each turn of the stair drawing you further into a gentler world. There's a kind of reverence in climbing a lighthouse at the edge of twilight, a feeling that every step carries you closer to something quietly important. Halfway up, you pause at a window. Outside, the sea is shifting into night, dark, shimmering, endless, a moving prayer. You rest your fingertips on the cool frame, letting the breeze touch your hand, and something in that simple gesture feels like letting go of a thought you've been holding too tightly for too long. You climb the final steps and step into the lamp room. Even in the dimming light, the great lens glows faintly, as though it breathes light even when it isn't lit. It waits, patient and sure, a guardian that knows night always returns and that light always answers. You walk around it, your fingers brushing the metal, feeling its certainty. The room feels different now, quieter but not empty, full of old stories hanging in the air like dust motes waiting to be illuminated. Maybe the keepers who once stood here left a little of their hearts behind. Maybe places remember the people who loved them. You find yourself drawn to the small hatch on the side of the mechanism. With a gentle push, it opens, revealing a switch, the one that wakes the light. You hesitate, not out of doubt, but out of reverence. Then, slowly, you flip the switch. A low hum fills the room, followed by a soft mechanical sigh. The lens begins to turn, slowly, steadily, like a great heart returning to life. Light blossoms inside the glass, not bright, not harsh, but warm and patient. It grows with each rotation until it stretches outward through the windows, reaching across the darkening sea in long, gentle strokes. The room fills with reflections, shifting and gliding along the walls like luminous brushstrokes. You step onto the balcony, drawn to the gentle sweep of the beam. The night greets you with open arms. Below, the sea is a vast dark cradle, rocking itself to sleep. Each time the light turns, it touches the water for a brief moment, a sleeting silver kiss before gliding onward. The wind lifts your hair, cool and sweet, carrying that scent of salt and thyme. You rest your hands on the railing and close your eyes. And as the light turns behind you, you breathe in and breathe out. The rhythm is slow, unhurried, almost like the lighthouse learned your heartbeat and decided to match it. You stay there a long time, wrapped in wind and light. The minutes pass softly, like feathers drifting. Thoughts rise, then fall away. The world becomes simple. Just the sea, just the night, just the quiet turning of the light. Eventually, you step back inside. The lens continues its graceful motion behind you, a steady companion. You descend the stairs slowly, your hand sliding along the stone as though tracing the path of every person who ever walked this spiral before you. At the bottom, the room glows with firelight. The bed in the corner waits, soft and inviting. The blanket on the chair looks a little like folded moonlight. You move toward the bed, your steps slow and unhurried. You sit at the edge. The cool sheets. There is a quiet promise in this simple act, a promise of rest, of surrender, of an ending that is not an ending at all, but a beginning of softness. You lie down gently, pulling the blanket over yourself. It smells faintly of sea air and warmth, a scent that feels like a memory you once lived, even if you can't quite recall when. The window beside the bed is cracked open just enough for the sound of the waves to drift inside. The beam of the lighthouse sweeps across the ceiling, fading in slow intervals. Light, dark, light, dark. And something in that steady pulse makes your eyelids heavier. You breathe slowly, deeply, with the rhythm of the sea. And for the first time in maybe weeks, maybe months, your whole body settles at once, as though the lighthouse has wrapped its arms around you. Mi cielo, you've done enough for today. You're safe here. You can rest. You lie there, wrapped gently in the blanket, feeling the warmth of the lighthouse breathe around you. The fire crackles softly in the corner, a quiet little heartbeat echoing through the room. The sea wind sighs against the walls, brushing the window with a rhythm older than memory. And the turning light, that patient, faithful light, sweeps across the ceiling in slow, tender intervals. Light and shadow, light and shadow. Each pass is softer than the one before, like someone whispering a lullaby without words. Your body sinks deeper into the mattress. Your breath cools. Your thoughts loosen, untying themselves one by one like ribbons slipping free. And in that in-between space, not fully awake, not fully dreaming, you sense something gentle begin to unfold. A quiet understanding, a peace you don't have to chase, a rest that doesn't need to be earned. I sit beside you now, mi cielo, not in the room, but in the story, the way voices sometimes sit with us even when we're alone. And I'm grateful you've come this far with me. Nights like this, they're little gifts we give ourselves. A pause, a soft landing, a place where nothing hurts and nothing rushes. Outside, the waves continue their patient work, smoothing the edges of the rocks the way time smooths the edges of our days. The lighthouse stands faithfully above them, the beam turning with the steadiness of breath. It doesn't force light into the dark. It simply offers what it has, as it has always done. You don't need to hold anything now. Not the heaviness of today, not the questions that haven't found their answers, not the memories that tug at you when the world gets too quiet. Let them rest, let them soften, let them drift like sea foam dissolving at the edge of the tide. The room grows dimmer as your eyes begin to close. You can still sense the glow of the rotating beam, warm, distant, steady, but it doesn't ask for your attention anymore. It keeps watch on its own, the way old lighthouse keepers once did through long nights. The sea swells below, deep and endless and kind. You are safe here. You are held here. You are home here. Your breath becomes slower, longer. Your hands relax. Your shoulders fall. The weight of your body settles into the bed like sand settling at the bottom of calm water. If you're still awake enough to hear me, mi vida, I want you to know something important. You've done enough. You've been enough. You are enough. Everything outside this moment can wait. Everything tomorrow will bring can meet you gently after you rest. For now, there is only the lighthouse, the sea, the soft breath of night, and the tenderness of being exactly where you're meant to be. The light sweeps overhead, slower and slower and slower. The waves hush themselves into a long, comforting cradle, and you drift softly, quietly, beautifully into sleep. If my voice kept you company tonight, darling, you can like this video and subscribe so our little evenings together continue. And whenever your heart feels ready, leave me a message in the comments. I read them the way one reads letters from old friends. Now rest, mi cielo. Rest deeply. Rest fully. The lighthouse will keep its watch. The sea will breathe for you. And you can let go. Buenas noches, corazón. Sleep well.